Bears fans, gather around because the mood in Chicago has flipped faster than anyone could have predicted. A few weeks ago, the frustration was thick in the air. The team opened the season with 2 straight losses. The offense looked out of sync, and plenty of people were already wondering if the rookie tight end was going to live up to the hype. But suddenly the Bears started stacking wins like a team that finally remembered who it was supposed to be. And with each Sunday that passed, the narrative around Coloulston Lovelin took a sharp turn. What looked like early season panic has turned into one of the most intriguing rookie battles of the year. Coloulston Lovelin arrived in Chicago with expectations heavier than a chilly December wind off the lake. Taken in the first round, he was instantly compared to Tyler Warren, who had exploded out of the gate for Indianapolis. Every catch Warren made seemed to fuel the conversation, while Lovelin was still trying to get his footing, slowed down by a nagging hip issue that threw off his rhythm. Fans were restless, analysts were loud, and for a moment it felt like the Bears might have misjudged their guy. But football seasons are long, and what happens in September rarely defines what happens in November. The win over Pittsburgh put Chicago at 8 victories in 9 games, sitting atop the division like a team determined to change its own history. And at the center of that momentum swing is Loveland quietly transforming into a key figure in Caleb Williams' passing game. His connection with Williams is starting to look smooth, instinctive, almost like they're finally speaking the same language on the field. Meanwhile, Warren's blazing start has cooled. Not because he suddenly became less talented, but because defenses began treating him like a marked man. Suddenly, the numbers from the past few weeks tell a completely different story from the one everyone was shouting back in Week 4. Loveland has been producing more, finding the end zone, stretching the field, and proving he could be the guy Chicago envisioned when they called his name on draft night. His touchdown against Pittsburgh felt like another stepping stone in a season that has steadily picked up speed. And fans will never forget the explosive 58-yard catch-and-run against Cincinnati with only seconds on the clock, a play that didn't just save the night. It may have saved the entire season. Warren, on the other hand, hasn't scored since mid-October. He's still putting up strong yardage and remains near the top of the league in yards after catch. But the gap that once seemed impossible to close is suddenly much thinner. Those early reactions that claimed Chicago made a massive mistake are starting to feel like they came from a completely different season. Loveland is showing the traits that made the Bears fall in love with his game: reliable hands, sneaky acceleration after the catch, and the ability to create mismatches when the offense needs a spark. What looked like a draft day gamble is turning into a legitimate 2-man race between rookies who might dominate this league for a long time. And then, as if the storyline needed more fuel, Caleb Williams walked into Week 12 and delivered one of the strangest games of his young career. What makes it strange is that the stat line looks solid from a distance. Over 200 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a passer rating north of 100. Those numbers usually describe a comfortable, well-executed performance. But anyone who watched that game knows it was far from pretty. The completion percentage sat just above 50%, far below the standard he's been setting. He was late on throws, behind on others, and several deep shots never found the right touch. It felt like the offense was fighting itself for a good portion of the afternoon. Even on the ground, things weren't clicking. The running game struggled to generate push, and for stretches the Steelers controlled the pace. And then came the kind of mistake that usually sinks a team: a brutal sack fumble inside the Bears' own end zone. The type of play that headlines every sports show when a young quarterback is still under the microscope. Moments like that have crushed Chicago quarterbacks of the past. You could almost feel the collective gasp from fans who have watched this movie too many times before. But that's where Williams showed exactly why the franchise believes in him. He shook it off instantly. No hesitation, no visible frustration, no spiraling. He came right back with the same confidence, leading touchdown drives like nothing had happened. That mental toughness, that calm under pressure when everything starts to tilt, is exactly what separates franchise passers from the rest. The nickname his teammates have given him makes perfect sense. When a moment gets heavy, he gets colder, steadier, almost more dangerous. That's why Bears fans should be encouraged, even on a day when the offense wasn't at its sharpest. If this is what a bad game looks like for Williams, Chicago is in excellent hands. This is his first year operating a system known for its layered reads and complex structures. He's still unlearning old habits and adjusting to a playbook that demands precision on every snap. And yet, he's pacing toward nearly 4,000 passing yards and more than 24 touchdowns. The growth is obvious, but the potential ceiling is what stands out even more. What makes this run even more promising is how Williams' presence is lifting everyone around him. Teammates speak about his confidence like it's something they can feel in the huddle. Veterans trust him, rookies look up to him, and the entire sideline seems to believe that no game is ever out of reach as long as he's under center. That mentality has been missing in Chicago for a long time, and now it feels like it's finally back. And when your rookie quarterback can have one of his toughest performances yet still guide the team to a 4th straight win, you know something special is brewing in the Windy City. Keep in mind he just turned 24. He's barely scratched the surface of who he can become. There will be rough weeks and learning curves, but this early stretch shows that the Bears might have found the leader they've spent years searching for. The kind of player who changes the energy of an entire franchise the moment he steps into the building. As the season keeps rolling, the Bears continue shaping a new identity that feels different from anything fans have seen in years. It is not just about the wins stacking up, although those victories are giving the city something to rally around again. It is the way this team responds to pressure, the way young players are stepping into the spotlight, and how veterans are feeding off a renewed sense of purpose. Every week feels like another chapter in a story that is slowly drifting away from the mistakes of the past and settling into something far more promising. What ignites all of this is the growing chemistry between Caleb Williams and his supporting cast. Early in the year, the timing felt slightly off, like the offense was still trying to find the beat of a song it had never practiced before. Passes were a little late, routes were not always sharp, and protection broke down at the worst moments. But even through those stumbles, you could sense that something was waiting to click. Coloulston Lovelin's emergence has been a major factor in that shift. His early struggles were never about talent. They came from a combination of recovering from injury, understanding the speed of the league, and adjusting to a quarterback who is learning the ropes himself. What is impressive is how quickly Lovelin has adapted. The routes are crisper, the separation is more consistent, and the trust he is earning from Williams is obvious every time the ball comes his way on a critical down. You can see it in the way Williams looks his direction without hesitation when the play starts to break down. You can feel in the reaction of fans who are now cheering his name instead of questioning why he was drafted so early. There is something uniquely energizing about watching a rookie tight end grow in real time. You see the small steps, the improved footwork, the stronger releases against physical defenders, the increased awareness of where the soft spots in coverage are hiding. Then suddenly you see the big moments, like the long touchdown against Cincinnati, plays that transform from simple execution into defining highlights. Those moments are not accidents. They're the natural result of hours of studying film, refining technique, and building communication with the quarterback. Chicago has been waiting a long time for a homegrown playmaker at that position, and Lovelin is beginning to show he can be that kind of difference maker. The defense deserves credit too, because even though the offense takes center stage in all the headlines, it is the defensive unit that has given this team a foundation to stand on. Weeks ago, there was concern about whether Chicago had enough playmakers on that side of the ball. But over time, the secondary has tightened up, the pass rush has become more disciplined, and the linebackers are flying around as if they sense the urgency of every snap. They are not perfect, but they are resilient, and that resilience has kept the Bears in games when the offense took too long to wake up. And speaking of wakes, whatever switch flipped in Williams the moment after that sack fumble must have lit up the entire sideline. His teammates saw him brush it off instantly, and that kind of response lifts everyone. When your quarterback shows that kind of mental steel, the rest of the roster cannot help but elevate their own play. That is part of the intangible leadership Chicago has been missing for so long. Williams does not need flashy speeches or dramatic gestures. He leads through poise, through body language, through the way he resets, after a mistake. That is what great quarterbacks do. They make the difficult moments feel manageable. Fans can sense it too. Soldier Field has felt louder, more electric, more hopeful. People are beginning to believe, not because everything has been perfect, but because the imperfections no longer seem fatal. A year ago, a slow start or a turnover at the wrong moment felt like the beginning of the end. Now it feels like a bump in a road the team has proven it can navigate. The mindset is different, and it is contagious. Another under-discussed storyline is the maturity Williams is gaining each week. At just 24 years old, he is carrying the weight of a franchise desperate for direction. He has inherited a fan base that has suffered through decades of quarterback instability, and yet he handles the expectations with a calmness that defies his age. He studies relentlessly. He takes accountability, and he works to fix the flaws everyone can see. There is no arrogance in his approach, only ambition. That ambition is changing the way players talk about him in the locker room, and it is changing the way opponents prepare for Chicago. The battles he has faced in the first 12 weeks of the season are shaping him. Every missed throw, every defensive look that confused him, every moment when the play broke down and he needed to improvise has helped him evolve. You can see the growth in the way he moves in the pocket, more aware of pressure and more intentional with his footwork. You can see it in how he processes his reads, no longer rushing through progressions, but guiding the offense like someone who is beginning to understand the full weight of the playbook. The Bears are giving him opportunities to fail, learn, and grow without panic, and that patience is paying off. You can tell he is becoming more comfortable with the idea that not every play needs to be a home run. Sometimes the right decision is the simple one, the safe throw, the check down that keeps the chains moving. He is starting to play with balance instead of urgency, and that shift alone is unlocking more consistency for the entire offense. Of course, the season is far from over, and there are challenges ahead. The schedule is tightening, the opponents are getting tougher, and every team still fighting for playoff hopes is dialing up the intensity. But that is exactly what makes this stretch so revealing. This is where you see what kind of quarterback you have. This is where you discover whether the young tight end can continue climbing or whether defenses will adjust to take him away. This is where the running game needs to find its footing again and where the coaching staff must adjust to the tendencies now appearing on film. Nothing is guaranteed, but for the first time in a long time, Chicago feels ready for whatever comes next. What matters most is that the Bears have put themselves in a position to control their own destiny. They are no longer reacting to the season. They're shaping it. And as the wins pile up and the narrative around the rookies shifts, it becomes clearer that Chicago is building something sustainable, something with weight, something that could redefine the franchise for years. The city has seen sparks before, but this time the flame feels more real, more grounded, more believable. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In a move that could send shockwaves through the league, whispers are growing louder that veteran defensive lineman Cala Campbell may be heading to the Chicago Bears. Sources close to ESPN claim the deal is more than just speculation, though official confirmation remains elusive. The potential acquisition of Campbell, a proven force on the defensive front, has ignited chatter across locker rooms and fan bases alike, raising questions about what kind of impact he could have in the Windy City. Campbell, known for his relentless pass rush and veteran leadership, has been a cornerstone wherever he's played, earning multiple Pro Bowl selections and recognition as one of the league's most dominant interior defenders. For the Bears, who have been searching for a game-changing presence on defense, landing a player of his caliber could instantly reshape their front seven. Imagine a unit already showing flashes of promise bolstered by Campbell's experience and disruptive skill set. The buzz among analysts is palpable, with some suggesting that his presence alone could shift the balance of power in the division. While the specifics of the deal, contract length, financial terms, and potential trade partners remain tightly under wraps, insiders hint that both sides are motivated. Campbell reportedly views Chicago as a city with opportunity, a place to not only contribute on the field, but also leave a lasting mark as a veteran mentor. Meanwhile, the Bears front office is said to be exploring every angle, eager to capitalize on the chance to bring in a proven leader capable of elevating a young, ambitious roster. Social media has erupted as fans speculate on how the move would change the Bears' defensive schemes. Would Campbell anchor a 3-4 or 4-3 setup? Could his presence inspire a new wave of defensive dominance reminiscent of past Chicago legends? No one has answers yet, but the mere rumor has ignited excitement, debate, and a flood of what-if scenarios. If the deal goes through, it could be a defining moment for both Campbell's storied career and the Bears' aspirations to return to the upper echelon of the NFL. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.